Hello everybody, happy Sunday to you. Welcome back to another Sunday special. On these videos, I go through the markets and I talk about trade setups and ideas that I have for the week ahead. We definitely have a lot of them to talk about today, so I'm going to go ahead and get right into the video. Before I get too far though, I do want to say if you're new to my channel and you enjoy my content, it is completely free. We don't sell $1,000 courses over here or anything like that, but if you enjoy my content, do me a big favor and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to see more of these Sunday specials, the best way to let me know is to leave a like down below. Thank you very much, and let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the dollar this week. So coming into the week, we have a very interesting starting point because last week, if you remember, we had this intense run up to the upside on the DXY. This is the US dollar index, which is a basket of other currencies traded against the dollar. It's basically like the US dollar in one single chart versus many other currencies. Well, the dollar itself had a really good week last week, but then towards the end of the week, we had NFP, which came out with impressive adds to the job market. However, a sudden unexpected rise in unemployment. This ultimately caused the dollar to have kind of a crazy Friday before the big weekend here, but ended up actually selling off pretty steeply there. And for next week, or this week, I guess, coming into the week, I am very interested to watch the dollar to see if this is going to carry over and we're going to see sell pressure for the next week, or if we're going to find a bouncing point off this level. Now, I do have some opinions here and I do have some trade setups that I'm going to talk about, so definitely keep staying tuned and we're going to get to a couple of the different currency pairs. So that's the DXY, but let's take a look at some of the individual ones to see if there's anything that we can break down. So this is, of course, a 4-hour chart, which is a chart that I personally prefer. I am a swing trader, so for the day traders out there, these videos should be helpful to you in the sense from a higher time frame perspective. But for the most part, just remember that what I am talking about is mostly in a swing trading or at least bigger move context. Like I said, though, they still can be used in the day trading perspective because, let's say, for example, here we're taking a look at the euro dollar and you're saying, well, I like to day trade this thing if it reaches a level or we find something of interest on the lower time frames. Well, I will say that the 38.2 is something I still am keeping an eye on. You can see that last time we came up to this zone, we did find a lot of rejection, so I would not be surprised to see price, if it does get a bullish bounce, if we see the dollar come down a little bit, could drive euro dollar up a little bit, right? Because remember, anytime we are taking one currency long, we're taking the other short, and vice versa, right? So if we see some dollar weakness going into the week, that could cause the euro dollar to actually appreciate. So one thing I will say is I like the idea of a retracement on the euro dollar. We have had a really impressive, series of lower highs here, but anticipating another higher or lower high here could be a nice little patient play in my opinion. So maybe a move up to something like this could be interesting to watch. Maybe we even retest the 38.2, in which in this case, I could see myself looking for some sell setups on the euro dollar. In terms of targets, we got to scroll out just a little bit here. I do have this zone marked in green down here at 1.175. This zone down here was a large area of demand for price shortly after we reached it. So you can see price came all the way down here, lots of sell pressure back here in April, and then found support for the entirety of May. So I would say that if we get down there, it would not be out of the question to see a bounce of some sort at that level. Of course, I am bearish on the euro dollar right now, again, with the dollar being bullish overall due to the Fed's sort of hawkish tone right now. I do have a dollar bullish thesis until further notice. Now, if I change on that, I will definitely let you guys know. I'll probably put it in videos and such. But for now, it just seems like with the Fed talking about raising rates, that seems to be the direction that they're wanting to head in. And there's this old mantra or saying, don't fight the Fed. It is usually because once they reveal their agenda, they will continue to try and push it. But we'll see if they do. Again, I can be wrong about that. But for the most part, one more thing to talk about with the euro dollar is that we did break through this shelf here towards the end of the week. For the day traders out there, maybe we never get the pullback and maybe we see signs on the lower time frames of this just holding and going lower. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say that we don't even see this thing, break past this level. Let's say it holds, and then you start to say, oh, well, maybe it's just, headed lower here. Maybe it's going to break. And so you anticipate, you look for some sort of break there to the downside. That could actually be a momentum play that, I would watch out for personally if I was a day trader, just because again, you had this major area, really big zone, and it did in fact break there towards the end of the week. So watching to see if this rebound, finds resistance could be a big play there, in my opinion. So I am watching personally, though, with the euro dollar. I'd be interested a little bit more in a pullback, a little bit steeper. Next one is going to be pound dollar here. So pound dollar, I do think that I have more of a bearish thesis here, and where we currently sit is kind of an interesting spot. In fact, this is the 1 hour chart, so this is a lower time frame idea, but I will say something like this, that 38.2 looks really interesting here. So you had a lot of lower highs coming in here, lower highs, right? And then you found this bounce. And so at this bounce, the question is, can we hold the retest of the zone? I think it's, in my opinion, probably worth an attempt at some point. Should the price action look good on the lower time frames, I may consider looking to go short on the pound dollar. I do like the idea of a push down to 1.37. That's been a target for me for the last 2 weeks or so. So, and I think that is just a natural place for price to want to go. You look at the 4 hour chart. The thing is, we've been in this super strong uptrend, right? You've got the daily chart here, which looks really good for the pound dollar. Lots of higher lows and strength coming into this market. So that's been great when we were in this atmosphere. I was very bullish on the pound. They were rolling out vaccines at a much faster pace, but now we're sort of seeing the dollar have some strength, having some catch up, and that is the idea here with the pound dollar sort of entering into a range bound market. Now, if that changes, if we start to see higher lows and we start to see a breakout and things, maybe come out a little more dovish from the Fed, absolutely, I could see myself jumping back in on the pound dollar longs. But for now, I think short term we could see a retest of the low of this range here that we've been in. I think that's probably a reasonable short-term idea that makes sense to me. So we'll see if that plays out. Again, short-term dollar strength is what I'm sort of leaning towards on a lot of these different currencies. Let's take a look at dollar yen. This is one that is probably my most interested right now, or at least it's probably one of my most interested, I would say. So dollar yen here has been in a strong uptrend. Things looking very, very fundamentally and technically sound for the dollar yen. I would say personally that this week I will be looking to see if I can get into some long setups on the dollar yen. If I take any trades, you guys already know, if I take any trades, I share them in our private Discord. I'll show you what I mean. Here is our trades, or here's the Discord right there. So I took some dollar Swiss trades last week, made some money on them towards the end of the week. NFP did reverse my trade a little bit, but I ended up stopping out for a take profit there, or a stop loss that I trailed into profit. So I can't complain. Good little move there last week, but I am fresh for the week, meaning I don't have any positions open, and any trades that I take, I will be sharing inside of our private Discord. If you're not already in the Discord, you can sign up on our website with the first link in the description, and there's a promo code there for you to get a discount and join us in the Discord. So with dollar yen, this is one that I definitely will be watching for. Probably some lower time frame candles to see if we can get any sort of rejection here at this level, but I do love the idea of buying the retest here at 111. So nice upward trend, lots of cookie cutter, textbook examples. You've got higher lows, you've got higher highs, you've got nice just continuation every time price dips. That finds buyers fairly quickly. So I guess you could also draw the trend line here. That might be another level to look for should this one not work out. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll set up, one or two scenarios in which I can see myself getting long, because again, entries are hard. Even for me, I've been doing this for 5 years. So entries are difficult, right? Sometimes you enter here, put a stop here, you get stopped out, and then it reverses, right? Well, for me, what I tend to do is, if I have a really strong thesis on something like dollar yen, I will generally take or look to take 1 or 2 trades, right? So what I mean by that is, let's say this I enter here, it doesn't work out, and I stop out. And then I wait a little bit and I see some signs here and I say, okay, I'm gonna actually enter again here, and then it works out that time. Sometimes sometimes the first entry works fantastic. And so I only take trades that, they really make sense to me. But the one thing I will say is that there's an advantage, in my opinion, to, not taking a stop loss personal, but also just taking it as a way to say like, okay, well, I may look to re-enter should things work out better later. In fact, I kind of took a trade like that here. So I took trades here, a bunch of break-even ones, really frustrating, or not frustrating, but just kind of like, I would jump into a long position, it would go fantastic, and then I would break even, same thing. And then finally caught some of the low action here on dollar yen and rode that thing up. So Again, one thing I will say is that it's okay to re-enter, right? Sometimes you just have to try, as long as it meets your criteria for trades and it makes sense to you. You know, there's nothing wrong with looking to re-enter on the same chart. So for me, dollar yen is a buy. Of course, that is not financial advice. It's just my opinions, my trade setups and analysis, and you know that's what we're doing here on the channel. But the main focus here for me is I think at 111 could hold, and if it does for dollar yen, I think a reasonable place to think about would be a move back to new levels of resistance up there at the highs of 2020, right? 2020 back in February, we were at 112. So I think it's possible that we could see a dollar yen move up there to 112, and buying the pullback here at 111 to me makes sense. That's a full one whole unit move, right? That's, what is that? Quite a big potential upside there. You're talking about retesting and breaking all the way past the previous high up into that zone there. So could be some positive moves there. And from there, I wouldn't expect a massive sell-off personally. I would actually anticipate that maybe we see a little bit of rejection, but overall, I am still bullish on the dollar yen from a fundamental and technical perspective. I do like the dollar over like the yen right now, especially with the Fed talking about raising rates. Anytime that is on the table, I like the dollar a little bit more. So that's what I'm seeing on dollar yen. Let's take a look at gold here next. XAUUSD. Gold stuck in a range here last week. Really did not make much progress at all. Just chopped back and forth here. And so going into this week, it will be interesting to see. Frank and I were talking specifically about with gold, can we break out of this range? And if so, maybe we get the run up. Maybe we see, you know, break retests and continuations to the next level of resistance, which to me sticks out at 1820. So I would say that if you see a nice little break there above, if we can get above 1800 for any amount of time, looking for the pullbacks to me are an interesting idea. Something like, you know, a move up to 1820 for potential targets. But if you're like me and trail stops, you know, maybe even see more upside. Now, the thing is with that, you're sort of relying on bearish theses or bearish playthroughs for the dollar, because again, with gold and the dollar being sort of contenders with one another, the question becomes, you know, if the dollar stays very strong, that could actually be a bleeding out effect for gold. And if the dollar actually has weakish feelings coming in, right? If the Fed pulls back, that could be something else that has positive move for gold. Now, I will say, I forgot to mention this earlier, but we do have some interesting stuff this week. We do have minutes from the Fed, which is a big deal. You also have for the ECB, which is Europe. But again, talks from the Fed, anytime you hear that the Fed is going to be talking, can have a big positive or negative impact on the US dollar, the stock market, and honestly just global impact in general. Elsewhere, we also, by the way, have inflation rates for China, Brazil, Mexico, Turkey, and Russia. And then also U.S. job openings, Canada, employment data, UK monthly GDP, German factory orders, trade balance, Japan current account, and Australia building permits. So I'm going to say it's not like the busiest week ever compared to last week, which was huge. But I still think that there is some stuff that could be very market moving, and I will be watching myself, especially with watching all of this DXY or the U.S. dollar moves that have been going on. I've been looking for trade setups and trying to catch more. So definitely going to be a week that I will be trading in. So if you're not already in the Discord, definitely check that out down below in the description. Come join us and trade with us. Live coaching webinars, chat rooms, all sorts of stuff. Again, I'll pull it up just so you can see it. You can see all the trades that I take. Frank trades also in here, and then you got Patrick, he's also doing his stuff. We have a weekly forecast report that we put out, and then we do live webinars, educational material. You've got chat rooms to meet other traders. So again, very, very worth the price in my opinion. So check it out, linked down below in the description. Okay, so let me think. Is there anything else that I wanted to talk about? I think maybe pound yen might be something to look at this week as well. I've talked about this one with the counter trend coming down. I would love to see pound yen get above and hold that counter trend. You see something like that break, I'd be very interested personally in looking for continuation. You might ask, well, why? But the longer term trend looks really good, and the fundamentals to me make a lot of sense. You've got the UK, which is this more growth-oriented economy compared to the yen, which is this old, stable, steady economy. And so when you have a time where things are really optimized for growth, meaning, you've got unemployment dropping and you've got the world looking promising and people are able to borrow money and to invest things and to build things, that usually tends to go well for the pound, which is what we're seeing here since 2020's pandemic, right? We've seen a dramatic increase on the pound yen as people flock to buy the pound and to sell the yen conversely. So that is what I would say about the pound yen, is I am looking for long setups, but I've got to see some form of higher low. I do have more of an interest in buying stuff that is already moving up, showing that the direction is sort of in place. I know that a lot of traders, they prefer to be buying something. They prefer to counter trend, right? They prefer to, as this thing's going up, they say, well, it's getting too stretched here, I want to sell it. And I understand it is definitely tempting, but I would say personally, I find it way harder to be buying something that is bleeding out and then to be selling something that is rocketing higher. So that is just my opinion. But, and again, pound yen, would love to look for some long setups. I took a short here. Sorry, not a short. I took a long trade here that ended up getting stopped out. So I am looking to try and, re-enter somewhere if I can find a setup. But we will see if this one wants to play nice this week. What about Aussie dollar here? We can take a look at AUD, USD, see this one. This one's been really taking a dive because of the Australian economy sort of being stunted by the pandemic sort of resurging there. So that's no good for the Australian economy. So the Aussie may be short term having some struggles, may find some sellers resistance. You can see this already was a beautiful trade there. If you caught that, then congratulations. You had this nice bottom formed, and then we got the breakout. Then on the retest, beautiful opportunity. And even on top of that, you had a really nice daily pin bar there. So beautiful little rejection candle that led to 4 more days of strong selling. So going into this week, I think you may see a repeat. It's possible that you could see the next wave of that, right? Let's say that you get this level break and it does the whole pattern over again. You get a strong break to the downside, and then you get the weak retracement, some sort of entry confirmation, and then maybe we see the continuation. So Aussie dollar for me right now is short term struggling and may be headed lower. Again, this thing is not something that I'm like super interested to go short every single move on, because it is a commodity-based economy and commodities have done really well post-pandemic as trade has sort of boosted. So that's what I'm looking for on the Aussie dollar. I think short term you might see some sell pressure, but longer term, should we start to see signs of higher lows, same sort of concept, looking to potentially be long on the Aussie. But yeah, that's the thing. It's really depending on the dollar for me with a lot of these dollar crosses. Right now, I am bullish on the dollar, so I'm not going to be, buying Aussie dollar, buying pound dollar, buying euro dollar. So until I change my direction back based on fundamentals and what we're seeing happen in the world, most of those are a short against the dollar until further notice for me. So with that said, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very much for being on today's video. If you did enjoy, like I said earlier, make sure to subscribe down below. A lot of you guys who watch my content, you may not even realize yet, but you're not yet subscribed. So subscribe down below, leave a like on this video, and comment if you have any thoughts of your own in terms of some of the charts that I talked about today. Thank you very much for being here, and we will see you back tomorrow.